This conference will now be recorded.
So now that this is being recorded, we're going to try to put together a poster. So step one of that is to go to a website called makesigns.com, which will give you access to free poster templates. So there are a lot of different templates that you can choose among here. I'm just going to, for simplicity's sake, take this one right here in the nice red, and you just click on the button here to download that template and then bring it up. And the first thing you have to do once the template is up is to enable editing. And the second thing you have to do is to get rid of the commercial here. So that's just a right click somewhere in here and then cut it. And so what you're left with is basically a blank poster with lots of spaces in it. So there's a few things that we're going to do. I'm going to want to add photos to this, because if you have a poster that's just text all the time, it's not going to draw people's eye to it so much. The other thing we're going to do is it's fairly simple to make a title up here. And so since the title of the workshop that I'm giving next month for the ACSH is Does Hypnosis Have a Prayer? I'm going to make that even larger than it is. You know, if you pay attention to the fonts, that's already an 80 size high font. We're going to move it up a couple notches higher to 96, just to give it a little bit more punch. And then since the workshop has a subtitle, we're going to use that same subtitle. Take it off cap lock. And then let's see. Yeah, I've already lost what I had there already, as far as it had given me a subtitle spot. So we're going to try to self-correct that here. Go back to a smaller size and say, oops.
You can probably just hit return after. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Gnosis. So that gives us that. We then just have to go down here and add an author name. I'll cleverly use my own. And then as long as you're in the College of Integrative Health, we'll put that first. And then Saybrook afterwards. So one of the things you want to get used to really quickly when you're doing these things is to save your work every step of the way, so that if you do make a mistake like you did there before, you only have to go back one step, not undo 5 that you've done. So we'll just call this prayer and save it. Oops, except that apparently we can't use a question mark in a title. So we'll just call it prayer without a question mark. But that saves this part for it. So one of the other things I want to do is to leave room for some photographs. And you see there, it's got categories, an abstract, an introduction. Those we can probably make a little room for a picture here. And the trick here is to find the right one where you're actually moving it, not just, there we go, shortening it up. So I want to leave a little room in here for a picture at the bottom. Maybe a little less for that one. And same with methodology here. I'm going to not talk a whole column's worth on that so that we can leave room for some graphic that can be more eye-catching at the beginning, so but you can just move these titles down. There are these lovely little free ones in here that, when possible, I'm going to cut. You don't always get a chance to do that. There we go, cut. That'll make that one go away. So let's, for example, let's put a picture in here. Now, one of the things that you, we're going to save what we've done here already. If you don't have pictures already, you can go to another website called Google Image. And we'll do this real quickly here. And that's a way to, let's just say we want to talk about that concept of prayer, what images go along with that, and you can get a whole list of either royalty-free or non-royalty-free pictures, depending on what you check. So you can pull out pictures from this that you think would work out well for it. Now, for this project, I've already pre-selected some. So I'm going to go back down to a little file I have down here called poster contents. And you can see I've already got a picture that I'm going to choose for that. So if we go back to the poster itself, this looks like our ones. We're going to insert a picture, and that'll take me back to that folder I just opened, and we're going to just double click on this. And so that's going to give me a picture that I can tuck in here, just as kind of an eye-catching image that has something to do with my topic. Because at some point you're going to want to have something that's going to draw them to the poster. We can do the same thing down here. If we're going to again insert another picture, and let's bring him down into this spot. And we'll get those sized a little bit better later on as we go along, but that's just something to bring the pictures up a little bit here. Now we're going to end up probably having a briefer conclusion. On the other hand, we're also probably going to change acknowledgements for our purposes for these things. We're going to change this to references. Because you're going to want to have your references in your poster. So we're going to bring this up here a little bit.
So
see if we can get...
are these
Yeah,
the things you want in the poster? Are these the headings you want?
These are pretty close that they give it. You know, you want an abstract, an introduction, a section of methodology, you want a results sections, you can put a conclusion in, and your references. So those are kind of the standard things that you would want in a poster. Now, there are obviously hundreds of variations on that, but those are pretty standard. So the only one I changed for this one was rather than an acknowledgement. That's normally where you'd say, I'd like to thank Dr. Wilmarth for what a wonderful course this has been and all those kind of things. But we'll skip that part and in exchange, put our references in. So I'm not having any luck with this particular one, trying to make it go away right now. So for right now, I'm going to just, it doesn't really want to go, does it? So we're going to play with that later. But we want more space for the references. Maybe that much. At the very least, we'll just make that go away. There we go. So let's insert another picture. So I have one more. We're going to put that one over here.
It's a lot like making a PowerPoint slide.
It is exactly like making a PowerPoint slide. Because that's, very literally what we're doing is a poster is one PowerPoint. So now we've got the basic layout of what I'm hoping that my final poster is going to look like. I'm going to do some cleanup on this once when I see how much space it's going to take for some of these things. But if I can get rid of these little things, it looks like the quickest way is to just click on it and then backspace, and those go away. So that leaves me lots of free place to put in all my own text. Now, this took me a lot longer last night in real time as I was actually writing the text I want to put in. But what I did was I took all of those things when I did finish it up, and I put it on one worksheet so that I decided what do I want in my abstract, what do I want in my introduction, what's in the methodology, how am I going to lay out the results section. So our experiment today will be if I just copy that section, and that is under abstract, and then we go back to our poster and we try this concept called paste. Several different options on how it might do that. That one didn't seem to want to take, so let's look at this.
I don't know about that. You could make it into a house.
Do you have to do a new text box first?
Absolutely right. So what we're doing
And in
is
there, it's real
we have
small.
to go back to insert.
Insert
And
text box and then do it.
Insert the text box right here. So see, that's why I brought live people on board for this thing so that I can not miss any steps. Make your text box here. Then
Now it should
you
work.
can, yes, there we go. Look at your options for that. And I think we're going to keep the source formatting for this. And then from here, we're going to put this up to about a 40 font, which magically does fill the box that I had.
Do we have to use New Times Roman, or can we pick any font we want?
And in fact, yeah, the standard ones are traditional just because they're easier to read, but there's sometimes you may want a different font altogether on that. So so let's try one at a time here. We're going to again insert a new text box. We're going to give ourselves the whole room of all this nice white space that are provided on our pre-made one. The advantage of you can start scratch from a PowerPoint slide, but it's nice to have the basic backgrounds and some of the graphics laid out for you, so you don't necessarily have to be a graphic artist to do this. But they're all pretty much cut and paste, move around and things like that quite easily. So we're going to go back to my my little box, which probably is in a Word file now here. And since I think this is the results section, we're going to take what I used for my results, copy that, click back here to it, and eventually we'll get to a chance to paste. And again, it's going to paste it in as the same little font that was in my Word file, but we're going to switch that back to a 40 font just so that people can actually read it as they go through. And this didn't leave the same format that I had before. So I'm going to cut this for just a minute, just on the off chance that I can go back and get the same font, the format. That doesn't seem to give it to me. Well, none of them seem like they're going to give it to me just the way I want it. And so I'll probably have to go back and space it a bit. Later on, just because we want some separation between the quotes here. Oops. We don't want to change the Okay, so now we've got a set of quotes in my results section that's actually a little more readable than the way that it was done before. So again, I can't emphasize enough how often you go back and hit that little save button, because if you ever get something the way you want it, you want to preserve it the way that it's going to be. So we'll do the same thing a couple more times. We're just going to go back to the insert. We're going to make another text box. We're going to get our conclusion. A space for that. Go back to our paper here, find out where we had the conclusion. Copy that. Move it back, and slowly but surely we get the poster taking shape the way you can already see the way it's going to look when it's all done. So again, we may have to readjust the size of those a little bit just to make sure that we can make room for all the reading part in here. My references are going to be the trickiest part here, and the references, unlike the other ones, don't have to be at a 40 font. You want people walking by to be able to read those things as they're going by. If they're going to want to check the references, they can come right up there and look at the references, which will still be larger than they would be on a normal sheet of paper, but you don't have to have your references in a 40 font. You are going to want to try to keep the formatting though, so you have your hanging chads in proper APA style. Although if there's one thing to sacrifice, again, you got to sacrifice that in the reference section, not in the context of the other part of it. So if we paste it this way, because we forgot one step again, didn't we? We still have to go back and insert the text box. You've got something to work with. And for some reason, it just doesn't really want to give me the chance to copy. So if we do it this way, it doesn't keep our hanging chads. So we move it over to keep source formatting, and it does. So our problem with this one is that it's coming in at a larger size than what we really want. So a couple of things we can do here. One is we can make it a little larger for us to see what we're doing. And yeah, not fast enough on the clicker there. And we're not full enough on the clicker there, so let's try one more time. See if we can get the entire thing. And we're gonna miss one row here. But let's make that 18. And then we can that top row. So now you've got all your references. We can actually make this just a little bit smaller. We can move the whole thing down. We can move the title down a little bit. And it leaves us a little more room for the picture to fit in here. The picture can go back to its original size here a little bit more. There we go. And it's only when you're being recorded that it's done. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. So that gives us two more sections to fill in. We're going to save this part again. Before we forget about it this time, we're going to insert a Word text box. We're going to add the methodology. We're going to re-correct the size on that. Okay. And then we're going to go back to our thing and actually find out where the methodology section was that was pre-done. Obviously, when you're making your own posters, you could do this in real time. You could get your spaces and just type in what you want to put on, which is the way I did it yesterday. Again, what we're left with is a very small. Let's see where it's not letting me increase the size of my screen here. It might be the fact that we're in GoToMeeting, but we'll copy this up, put it back to the same 40 font as the rest of our and do the same thing over here to our final section. So I don't know if anyone's been keeping strict time. Our recording will do that for us, but once you get your things organized, it shouldn't take too long to actually put the final thing in. Now, remember, am I doing the introduction or the abstract this time? Since I can't remember, we're going to check first. We're going to be doing the introduction. Copy that. Go back to it. Since we've already put in a text box, we should be able to just paste this in. Increase that back up to 40 font. And that's going to be close to what we wanted. I'm a little curious to why this didn't fill the whole box this time. But it is at 40 and
It's Times New Roman and the others are Calibri.
So let's correct that. Actually, I thought I did it mostly all in Times New Roman yesterday, but I think you're right that there was a difference in the fonts there. So which one am I looking for?
Calibri? Yeah.
There we go. So we'll try to get things looking a little bit consistent here. So the only other thing that you might want to do to enhance this as a poster now is how about if we add the logos for Saybrook? So if we we'll try it this way. Just do a copy and paste. So what we can do is move this to the upper corner. And then, oops, stay. Copy here, which gives you a second version that you could then swing over to this corner. And I think we'll get that lined up. So then we have our completed poster. There may be a few things, I may go back and correct that reference section a little bit. It looks like it's a little bit off. We could probably make the print a little bit higher than what we've got here. But for the essentials, this is how you make a poster. We're going to stop the recording now and save this for the others who weren't here to see. And then we'll